We are live now. So we are live. Mr. Melendez, if you want to turn off your camera until we get to the agenda. Good afternoon, Dr. Powell Walker. We are live streaming, just so you're aware.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr. Thurman. We are live streaming now. Mr. Robinson, if you'll turn off your video and unless you're asked to participate. Thank you. Ms. Hogshead, we are live streaming.
Thank you. I'm dark.
Yes, you are. Is there a light that you can turn on in front of you? If you either turn off that lamp behind you or turn on a light in front of you.
Matt, do you see me? Is this okay?
It's still dark.
It's frozen.
Yep. Oh, there you go. That's great.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being present this evening. Let's see. Just a quick reminder to the board and to myself to be mindful of the norms that we've previously agreed to. We will go ahead and call our meeting to order. Under provisions of the Public Meetings Law of the state of Missouri, the board must adopt by roll call vote an agenda that includes the time, date, place, and tentative agenda for the meeting. A copy of the notice and agenda for this meeting was posted on Tuesday, October 26, 2021 at the Administration Center located at 8855 Dunn Road, Hazelwood, Missouri, and on the district website. May I have a recommendation to adopt the agenda as posted?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Janice, will you please call for the vote?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hogshead,
Aye.
Dr. Thurman,
Aye.
let's see, Mr. Tyson, is he here? Dr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Bush, nope. Dr. Graves,
Aye.
and Dr. Paul Walker.
Aye. Thank you. The first item we have on our agenda is Staff Wellness Day. I think the recommendation is going to be November 1st, 2021. This is being brought to us by Dr. Philip Boyd, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, and this is for board action.
Good afternoon, board and Ferguson family community. The administration is seeking board approval to make November 1st, 2021 a Staff Wellness Day for all employees and allow for district closure. November 1st is already a student non-attendance day slated for staff PD. The administration believes that a wellness day is crucial at this moment, given the self-care needs of the staff.
May I have a motion to approve November 1st, 2021 as a Staff Wellness Day and allow for district closure?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Discussion?
Yes, I do have some, I have a question. I know that some people are concerned about that date, some of the teachers, that is a date that they would not want to choose because it's a teacher work day. That they really need that teacher work day. And I can really understand why, because they need to collaborate and they haven't had an opportunity to do that as much. So was there a survey taken or anything to ask the teachers what day they wanted to be off? And if not, did we consider, if we go with that date, having the teachers have another work study day so that, or work day, so that they can collaborate with their partners, because that is crucial.
So what we did do, Dr. Thurman, is took a look at the calendar. We haven't done a survey because this has all been like happening really fast. And so we haven't had an opportunity to do a survey to ask teachers that question. In fact, I don't know that many of them know, but some do, obviously. What we did when we looked at the calendar, though, was that, so this Friday, kids are out all the way through Tuesday and come back on Wednesday. So we kind of already have, like, staff are out on Friday already. Monday would be a gesture to support our staff because they've been going through a lot. All of them,
Right.
teachers and everybody have. I mean, folks are stressed, and I totally get it. If you look at the calendar itself, and we looked at it from here all the way till May. The next best opportunity, because there are breaks, like after this break is sort of the fall break, you have Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of weeks. After that, you have Christmas and sort of the winter holiday coming up in about 3 weeks. Then you get into semester where you have King holiday, you have spring break. So you got a lot of breaks already sort of interspersed between now and March. The best next time where there's a stretch where there isn't a break is the latter parts of April, I think was the date that we saw that there is a potential so that there is another opportunity to do this. But I think kind of the board was interested in something sooner. We could definitely look at another date if the board gives me that direction, because there are some, already seemingly breaks set up there.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent idea. As a matter of fact, I sent the letter from Rittner to the board and asked about that. And I know the board said that it was a great idea. We had no more discussion about it. But yes, I want it. But I want what the teachers want and what the staff want. So that's why I was just asking if we had asked them, because it's almost like we're taking a day that they've already been given, and it's kind of like convenient for us to use that day. But the message we really want to give to them is that we really are concerned about this. And if it takes that we have to use another day so that they can get their work day in and have that time off, that would be, would be good. So that's just my take on it.
And I've heard just the opposite, because I thought when you got I had thought of this even before the Rittner letter, that give them a day at Thanksgiving. But so when I said something, because I've gotten a lot of calls and emails and things, and they would much rather do it now than wait, is what I'm getting back. They're just totally burnt out and they need it, and they would rather wait. They hear Rittner did it, so why can't we do it? And I just think it's better to go ahead and do it now.
So I was just gonna
Also,
say,
I was just going to add on to piggyback onto that, and I talked to Dr. Powell Walker about this. I would really like to see us for the whole month of November do something special every one day a week for the teachers, like one day every school gets donuts, one day we bring in lunch, something to let them know how thankful we are that we have them and that they are doing a good job. And maybe it'll take some of the stress of the holiday, some of the stress of their workload and everything else off. So I don't know if we can wrap those two together, but I think it would be nice.
Thank you, Leslie.
Sorry.
Dr. Morton? Oh, I'm sorry, Leslie. Were you finished? I'm sorry.
No, I was just, yes, I was finished telling.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dr. Martin.
So I think yes, I think a wellness day is needed. I think there's a lot of stress going on in schools from teachers, custodians, bus drivers, administrators, secretaries. The amount of behaviors across the country being seen in schools is certainly higher than ever before. We're coming out of pandemic and dealing with things. So I think I will say from my perspective, we've received more teacher emails than we normally do as a board about certain topics that I feel like we've not received as much recently until today, particularly just saying the feeling that moving, why the question was raised, like, why is it not the PD day is the off day and the work day is still on? That so many teachers feel like they need the work day to catch up and actually work with their colleagues, that PD is not necessarily what they're stressed or overwhelmed. And I get it. And so just curious from that lens, how come not the PD day and the work day was the one canceled? Because I do know sometimes that collaboration is such a critical piece that sometimes lowers stress and anxiety among staff that don't want to take something away and then they're just working anyways at home, which is not the purpose of a wellness day, right? So that's the first question I would have. And then I do have a follow-up, Dr. Powell Walker, too.
All right. So Dr. Martin, I want to say, Dr. Davis, before you respond to that, I noticed that we do have someone here from the NEA. I'm not sure if that's Kelly Ward. But Kelly, at some point in this discussion, if that's you or whoever that is with NEA, if you are comfortable, maybe you could speak to the wishes of the teachers or the feedback that you're receiving, and that may help the board in its decision-making also. Thank you, Kelly. We're going to let Dr. Davis and Dr. Martin kind of finish up their discussion, and then if you could be prepared to speak, we'd appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Yeah, so I didn't choose November 1st. Let me say that. What I'm after is, whatever the board decides you all want to do. I know that Leslie wanted to make sure something came forward, and I know that her and Dr. Powell Walker had some conversations. I'm fine with a different date. I did talk with Liz Davenport specifically about November 1st in terms of the impact, because there's an evaluation training that goes on that day. Teachers have that morning to do, sort of a work day and collaborate. There's a lot of PD going on November 2nd that we've paid a lot of folks already to do. So I'm flexible. I think that if anything, November 2nd needs to be protected because we've already committed a lot of resources and funds to paying people to do that training. And I know teachers want some time to do that work. I think looking at our calendar itself, we have some pretty good breaks starting Friday all the way through, kind of. If you look at November, you look at Thanksgiving, like I said, coming up in a couple of weeks. Christmas will be here a couple of weeks after that. I think there are 10, 13, 15 days. So it's exactly 3 weeks after we get back from Thanksgiving before we have a 2-week break. So we have some time interspersed, but I don't want to minimize, again, the here and now. The here and now is folks are like, it's like a tipping point almost because of all the stress that folks are going through and dealing with right now. Yeah. So I'm all for, the best case scenario that you all give me direction on. If you want me to go back and do some surveys of teachers and then you all come back and meet again, I'm fine to do that as well. November 1st, if you look at the next few days, November 1st is probably the better one of them because they already have the 29th. Teachers are already off anyway. The first of the ones that are remaining, the first and second, the first would be the better one based on the commitments we got for November 2nd. So I'm open to whatever direction you all want to go in, but I do want to acknowledge again, that as you've all have already said, folks are stressed right now. So
thank you, Dr. Davis, for that feedback. So to lead into my other part of the question, which I appreciate Dr. Powell Walker asking NEA, which represents majority of our staff from bus drivers, custodians, tech, sports, and et cetera. One of the things that I will say, I agree, Dr. Davis, people are stressed and at a tipping point. I see education, certainly I understand that too. My wonder would be, keeping the work day, and I'd be interested to know Kelly's response if she's willing to share specifically, keeping the work day and keeping the PD day, because I do think PD is important as well, and making Thanksgiving a full week off, which is what some teachers did suggest. Would that be better to let people be totally able to move away from school for a week across the district, close the entire district down for that week, and truly be able to be refreshed, come back for 3 strong weeks before winter break and finish out those semesters? Would be a wonder. And if you're totally against that, I would love to hear that. But also to Dr. Powell Walker's point, I would love to hear what the NEA's perspective is on that, because that is one of the things that the board, if the board didn't have a chance to check their emails today, we received several emails with some people suggesting that. But of course, that does not speak for all the NEA. And I know Kelly doesn't necessarily speak always for all the NEA either, because they haven't had time to do a survey either. But I'd be just curious to know what they think, as well as if that would be something you'd be totally against too, either one.
All right, thank you, Dr. Martin. Dr. Davis, did you want to reply, or would you like to hear from Ms. Ward first?
Yeah, I think I want to hear from Kelly to see what her thoughts are. And then the only thing I will say, as Kelly is preparing to say something is, I like the suggestion Dr. Martin just gave to give a week off on Thanksgiving. My only wondering right now would be for Philip and Dottie to take a look at the 1,044 hours and the impact that has. It may not have any, but I just want to make sure that we are in line with DESE requirements in terms of numbers of hours. So I'll just put that out there now for Philip to sort of go ahead and start tooling around that piece. But I'd love to hear what Kelly has to say.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our teachers and support staff. When we saw the other districts presenting that day, we did approach when we had our formal communication about having a wellness day for our staff also. We like November 1st, but that is a teacher work day. And we do have many teachers who are screaming they need that day to catch up, to collaborate with their colleagues, and they do want that day. So they would prefer, so it's half want that day. The other half would be okay with having November 1st off. So half want that day to work, and the other half would say, I need the break now. So it's like there's no happy medium when we come to this decision. But yes, if we can find time in the schedule to make another teacher work day, if we go with November 1st, that would be a great compromise, because our staffing does need that time to work together to collaborate with each other. And
a quick question, Liz, that the morning of the 1st is teachers working in classrooms, correct? And then the afternoon is the evaluation training.
Yeah, it's just evaluation work time for them to like work on their PDPs, their slows, that sort of thing. I usually send like some video resources for them. And then I have office hours, and principals usually do some sort of a little bit of calibration with their staff during that time. I will also want to add that on November 2nd, we only have PD from 8 to noon, and then they get an hour for lunch. And then from 1 to 4, they have collaboration time, teacher-led PLCs with their teams in the afternoon on November 2nd.
Yeah, I guess I think about the 1st, because I do know teachers, students are already out, so it's no impact on families, which is good. But teachers are, kind of preparing for doing work in their classrooms. I know on the 1st of November, the afternoon is that evaluation piece. If we could give them the whole day as a work day, and then find a way to, give them that training time at another time, and Liz and we can work through figuring out what that looks like. That way they have the entire day to just do planning and preparing and without interruption. And then let us take a look at the numbers around the November piece, and see if that's doable. I mean, I think we'd have some time if the board wanted me to do a survey on that part, to think about November, the week of Thanksgiving, or something later on in the year. I mean, we can come up with a couple of options that make sense. Again, acknowledging the hearing now. I'm open to whatever direction you all want to go in, but I think the 1st is the path of least resistance right now, because kids are already out, and teachers are already planning to do work in their classes. In the afternoon, we can just give them the whole day as a work day. So, board, what are your thoughts?
Dr. Davis, do you think that you can explain it again? Because I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So you're suggesting that November 1st, which was already a teacher workday, was that a full teacher workday?
It's a half teacher workday on November 1st. And then the afternoon, they have some evaluation training that's planned that they're supposed to do. And so we could work through figuring out another time to do that training that will have some impact. Maybe use staff meeting, the times that principals meet with their staffs. Maybe we can give them time, because it's like a 2-hour training, isn't it, Liz? So doing the 1st as a whole work day, so the teachers can work, and then find a way to do the evaluation piece at a different time, and then look at another sort of staff wellness day or days.
And so November 2nd would be a PD day as originally planned, right?
Yeah, I would want us not to touch November 2nd, because there's a lot of money tied to November 2nd.
And so then are you thinking November 1st, full teacher workday, November 2nd, leave it a PD day, and then survey the staff to find out what they think about the full week off for Thanksgiving, while at the same time checking the numbers to make sure kids are going to be in school the number of days and hours that they need to be according to DESE?
Yeah, and then the other so that would be one option for the time off in terms of giving staff wellness, and that would be sort of the 2-day sort of package that Dr. Martin presented, or looking at a time later in the year, since we kind of have breaks already interspersed, a later time in the year where there's a longer stretch. And I'm looking at the calendar right now, and it looks like there's a long stretch when we get past April 5th, maybe at the end of April as option 2, and then the week of Thanksgiving, the whole week is option 1, and then give teachers a chance to vote on that or to give feedback on that, and then bring that back to the board, and see what happens.
Since the week of Thanksgiving is so close, how quickly might you be able to gather information from teachers to be able to, so in other words, people probably would be curious to know, are they going to get that whole week? What's the outcome on counting up the number of hours, or are we looking at a different date? So.
Yeah, we can do a survey. I mean, Dr. Jadali can pull that together and have it out tomorrow, and I can have you results by Friday, just encouraging teachers to go ahead and fill it out. And then the next board meeting isn't until the 10th of November. But if you wanted to get something to the board member, to the teachers before then, you all could call another meeting next week at some point, Zoom, and then take action on it if you want. But I could get that data pulled together and have you some responses by the close of business on Friday.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes, Dr.
I would be totally willing to have a meeting Saturday or whenever we need to come back to, to make that decision once we get the feedback from the teachers. As a board member, I don't know if anybody else would be open to that, or even Friday evening after the results have come in.
Yeah, I would be open to that. Dr. Martin is shaking his head. Dr. Graves
I
is.
can't do Saturday.
Okay, and okay. So the hope is that we would at least have a quorum to be able to come back together to discuss that. So it sounds like we're thinking about trying to connect on Friday evening. And Dr. Davis, you're going to make sure the survey gets out and try to get us something to consider by then, right?
Yes, ma'am. We'll get it out first thing in the morning. Dr. Jadali's on the call now. I'm sure he's already working on it.
And you'll also be
Well, the
able.
one thing that we're not thinking, of is right now, parents already know that their kids are out of school. And so they've already got daycare or whatever set up for them. And then if we throw a day at Thanksgiving where they've already got so many days they have to worry about, that's another concern. Also, it sounded like, Kelly, if I understood you right, 50% of the teachers or staff were wanting Monday off. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but I also feel we're kind of pushing it back.
Something else that was put on the table was that if Monday is a work day, but could possibly they work from home. So that would be another option to put on the table, that they could have the option to work from home on Monday.
It's supposed to be a wellness day. A wellness day means that they don't have to work and that they should be doing what they want to do on that day. Is my understanding.
Yeah. So what the proposal was make Monday a full work day, not the wellness day. The wellness day would be option 1 would be November, and option 2 would be April. But this would still be a work day. But it sounds like it was to give teachers the option on that work day to do it either in person at their schools or to work from home, but still be able to do work. So this wouldn't impact the wellness piece. It would still be a work day, but it was just giving them the option of working at school or working from home, but still working.
I would just say I get hesitant. Of course, I don't want to get in the operation side of things. When you start giving people the option of working from home, it's hard if I'm trying to collaborate with 3 of my 4 team members want to be in person and that 4th person's at home. And, even on this call, not everyone has the best of internet. And so there's some dragging and lagging. So it makes collaboration difficult. And so a 15-minute conversation is now 30 minutes because we're trying to reconnect and play with technology. And so, and it's hard, Leslie, to your point, because the NEA, Kelly's not necessarily, there's not like a clear winner here in it. But I do think also, Leslie, to your point, I think, which I think I voiced last time, if we do want to give those 2 extra days off during Thanksgiving break, we need to let parents know ASAP, which I think to Donna's point,
Right.
is why we need to have a vote Friday or Saturday to let parents know by November 1st that the district will or will not be closed that full week, to give people at least 3 weeks notice to be able to plan accordingly. But I think Dr. Davis was also willing to move around some work time to give some more work time during the 1st and 2nd, if I heard him correctly, and still have that PD, the sacred PD piece, but maybe some more work time, if I heard correctly.
Yeah. I was just saying the evaluation piece, we, let teachers work Monday, the 1st, and make that the work day. And then what they would have been doing with that evaluation piece in the afternoon, we would find another time, like maybe having principals use what would have been a staff meeting time to do that evaluation training, or some way that makes sense. And we would definitely want to collaborate with Kelly and the FFNEA and Leah's at the table and just come up with a solution around them getting that evaluation piece. We could work through that.
All of these options will be on the survey, correct?
So what would be on the survey would be the 2 days in the week of Thanksgiving, or 2 days, I would guess, in April, when, again, as I look at the calendar, I'm thinking the 28th and 29th of April is another time where there's a stretch. When you look at April to May, the last April 5th is no school district is open. And April 5th on the calendar itself looks like it is, is that a PD day, Liz? I'm not sure. I'm looking at this calendar here, but I know April 5th is a day where kids are out of school already. So it's sort of a break. But from April 6th all the way through May 25th, which is the end of school, there is no break. So there's almost an 8-week period where teachers aren't going to have a break. So I think it would be kind of nice with option 2 is if you're going to do a 2-day staff wellness piece, that one would be November 22nd, 23rd, which will make that the whole week of Thanksgiving. So the option 1 will be November 22nd and 23rd, and option 2 could be April 28th and 29th. That would give another break in the end of April for teachers as a staff wellness piece. So that was what would be on the survey, Dr. Thurman.
Okay, I'm a little confused. You keep saying 2 days. I thought we were talking about 1 day.
Right.
Well, I mean, Dr. Martin brought up the option of the 2 days for Thanksgiving. So I was just using that thinking and transfer it to the end. You can do 1 day. You can do 2 days in November and 1 day in April. I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of what I'm hearing and then get some options of how the survey could look.
My understanding is
So right
for
now,
1 day.
Okay, Dr. Thurman, I want you
what
to.
do they have off for Thanksgiving right now?
Mrs. Hawkshead, I want to allow Dr. Thurman to finish, and then I'd like you to go right after her. Dr. Thurman?
I am so sorry. I was just saying, my thinking was just for the 1 day, not 2. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Mrs. Hawkshead, I want you to have a chance to finish your thought.
I'm confused on what days do they have off right now for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving is Wednesday, November 24th, Thursday, November 25th, and Friday, November 26th.
Mhm.
So we're thinking of, in this survey, of telling them that they can have Monday and Tuesday off. So we're giving them 2 days instead of 1 wellness day. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that what we're talking about?
Repeat that, please, Leslie.
Is that what we're talking about? We're thinking of giving them 2 days at Thanksgiving instead of giving them just 1 day, which would have been November 1st?
Yes, that's one of the options I think that would be on the survey.
I I don't, is that what you asked for, Dr. Martin? So you want to give the teachers 2 days? I would love to do that, but that's not
what-
really,
That's what they put in the email to us, and I think that's what Dr. Davis said he would have to go back. What Todd Powell Walker was saying would figure out the number of hours to make sure we wouldn't be short in the number of 1,044 hours, and as long as that worked. I guess to your point, Dr. Thurman, if we could get the survey and have a meeting Friday, could we have the first option being just have off the 1st? November 1st is the only option. The second option would be the work day, move the evaluation piece, 2 days off for Thanksgiving for the full week then of Thanksgiving. And then option 3 being 2 days or 1 day in April somewhere, 1 day of April somewhere, and everything else stays the same. A work day, if everything stays the same the 1st, and that way there's 3 options and see what all the staff want. It would have to be a quick turnaround, and we would just, but again, I think we could do a quick turnaround because the 1st wouldn't impact parents. It would only, yes, it impacts staff, but it doesn't impact parents to find childcare in from Friday to Monday. If that's the option we went with.
okay. And if we come back with the number being too many days, we don't have enough days, then that would kind of eliminate the Thanksgiving thing unless we did a 1 day for Thanksgiving. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know if Philip's been able to add up if it looks like he has his thinking cap on right now. So I don't know if he's trying to calculate the number of hours or I'm misreading his thinking cap. So
one of the hours we did look at was in April and making an April day a staff wellness day. So that 1 day in April would not negatively impact us in terms of hours. Right now, Dottie and I are talking about what 2 days does at Thanksgiving. So we still need to calculate that, but just one additional student non-attendance day would not impact their minimum hours. But 2 would get us pretty close to then the minimum if we go to 2. So we're just trying to make sure that we have our numbers straight on that.
Is
Are there any?
is
Oh.
it possible to do the 2 days at Thanksgiving and the 1 day in the spring, since we've got such a long time period?
Yeah, we're probably not gonna be able to do 3 days, I'm sure, because, we have to get in our hours now. It used to be days, now it's hours.
Right.
One day I think we're fine. 2 day kind of pushes it. I don't know yet. And Philip and Dottie are working and looking at that. I think 3 days puts us in the red zone, and I don't think folks would want to do that.
But we're going to look. You're going to look at that too, just to look at it.
Yes, ma'am. We'll look at the 2 days. If 2 days isn't going to be doable, 3 days certainly wouldn't be. But we'll look at all of it and
Right.
to have a definitive answer for you. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Davis, just because we have had so much conversation about this and we've heard about so many different options, can you review once more what the survey would have on it?
So what I heard, and you all can help me here, but I think I heard having 3 options on the survey. Option, and do this now tomorrow so that I can get your results by Friday so that you could, determine, maybe meet Friday evening or Saturday morning. The option 1 I heard was, would folks prefer to have November 1 as option 1 and to have November 1 as a day the district is closed. Option 2, what I heard was the week of Thanksgiving, having those 2 days if it allows based on the 1044 requirement by DESE. Option 2 would be Thanksgiving having the week off. And then option 3 would be a day, 1 day in April, namely April 29th, would put a break smack in the middle between the April 5th all the way to the long stretch of May 4th. So that's what I have. Option 1, November 1, option 2, 2 days in November for the week of Thanksgiving. Option 3 would be a day in April 29th, namely. Put those 3 options on the survey and then let teachers and employees vote on that.
Dr. Davis, for the option 2, just the piece added about what you said about November 1st, what it would change to, just making sure that was in the survey. How to be a full work day.
Right. It'd be
And
a-
also, I'm still concerned that that option 2 could be negated if we don't have enough days. So is there a way we can put on there 1 to 2 days for Thanksgiving rather than 2 days?
Yeah, and I think so I'll put the piece in there about the full work day, because that makes sense to make sure people are clear about what that would be. But to your point, Dr. Thurman, if we're unable to do 2 days and only can do 1 day, then my sense then would be that it would be that Tuesday before Thanksgiving that we'd give teachers, which would be November 23rd. So they'd have to come to, school and work for 1 day, which would be that Monday, the 22nd. And then if we couldn't do the whole week, it would be the 23rd. That would be the date added to the current calendar.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mrs. Hogshead.
Yes, could at the beginning of this survey, in the introduction, could we put something in there about the board really caring and wants to meet their needs? Because they are so feeling unwanted and unappreciated, and I really want them to know that we care. So could that be the introduction?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hogshead. Are there any other comments? We have a motion on the floor that we, need to vote on. So are there any other comments from the board?
How do we vote on this
Right.
if we're making changes? Do we need to redo the
I just assumed we would.
motion?
I just,
Or do we just vote it down? I'm sorry.
yeah, that was my assumption that we would vote it down since the motion's on the floor and then make a new motion, I guess.
You want me to just pull it instead of vote it down?
You can withdraw. Dr. Martin made the motion, Dr. Graves seconded. So if he withdraws his motion and she agrees, you can start over.
Okay, I accept that. I accept withdrawing the motion.
I withdraw my second.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a new motion?
I,
don't have anything to vote
Moved
on
it.
right now until after the survey results.
well,
Okay, I wasn't sure if we needed to.
don't we need to vote to say we want to do a survey?
No, I mean, the motion's not on the floor. That's the only thing you have to act on. And you pull that. You've given me direction. I have consensus basically, and I can move
Okay.
forward and take care of it. And then if you all call it another meeting whenever, like if it's Friday or Saturday, then we can just take it from there. But I have my clear direction from you all about the survey and then the 3 options and making sure that there's clarity there. And I'll make sure I put in there the board's intent around, taking care of teachers and that you really care about them. So I'll have all that in the survey. And then when you come back and meet again, you can make a motion from that point based on the data.
I would just ask that we have the meeting scheduled sooner rather than later so we can get the 24-hour notice, Madam President. I know Friday's going to be here before we know it. So if we could kind of set a time now, that way Heike doesn't have to reach out to each of us individually, or what would you prefer, Madam President?
I think that's a good idea, Dr. Martin, to go ahead and try to set a time now. Would this time potentially work for everybody on Friday?
4:30
4:30?
works for me.
Okay.
So what I would need to do then is we'll get the survey done this evening, put it out first thing in the morning, or even tonight if it's all completed. But I'd have to shut off the time that folks can do the survey, probably noon on Friday, so we can crunch the numbers and have that ready for you instead of giving them the whole day Friday. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
Is there a way that Ms. Ward can send something out saying, look out for the survey that it's coming, so that everybody knows that it's coming?
And Anya will absolutely take care of that. Like we bug folks to death, so that wouldn't be an issue at all.
So 4:30, is that, so we can't push this to 5? I don't get off until 4:30. I don't leave the office until so at the beginning of this meeting, I missed a little bit of it because I couldn't hop on until a little bit afterwards. But can we not do 5? Is anybody available at 5? 5 would be much better for me
5 o'clock works for me.
on Friday.
Works for me.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like we have a plan for Friday. I also want to inform the board that Mr. Tyson was not able to remain on for the full meeting. He had another obligation to get to. So I wanted to let you know that he is no longer on. All right. We will move forward with our agenda. We are now at our next agenda item. This has to do with an incentive for vaccinated employees, and this is being brought to us by Dr. Philip Boyd. This is for board action.
The administration is recommending board approval for a one-time staff vaccination incentive of $500. Eligible employees must be fully vaccinated as defined by the CDC and provide proof of COVID-19 vaccination by no later than December 1, 2021. The incentive would be paid out on or about December 5th. The funding source would be ESSER funds.
May I have a motion to approve administration's recommendation that we offer COVID vaccination incentive pay of $500 for eligible employees?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
My question is that both steps and the booster, or what are we saying? If they just get one vaccination, that counts, or what's the criteria?
Currently, the criteria is, if we're talking Pfizer, to have both shots, and then a person will be considered fully vaccinated approximately 2 to 3 weeks after their second shot. And we would also judge it by, if you're taking the Johnson & Johnson, we would follow the COVID guidelines regarding time after shot to decide whether you are properly vaccinated. The reason we chose December 1, because that should still leave time for persons who are willing to get vaccinated by December 1. We did not include the booster in that discussion, because not everybody's eligible for the booster at this point.
So what is our rationale and reasoning for this, and how many? Yeah, I just want to start there. What is our rationale and reasoning?
Our main rationale is we were wanting to further incentivize additional vaccination in the district. We have a few of our sister districts that have done that, including Hazelwood, SSD, and a few other districts that have also provided incentive pay up to $1,200.
What is the percentage of our staff that has been vaccinated?
Currently 84.5%.
And so this incentive would be given to everyone who's already been vaccinated, in addition to new people who get vaccinated. Is that correct?
As of December 1, yes.
So we're going to spend almost $1 million on this incentive.
Approximately $740,000 from the ESSER funding.
And what happens if we don't get this other 20% that we're looking for? Then what?
We would continue with our current testing regime.
In my opinion, I feel that we can do something better with that money. So I kind of know what my vote is, but I will allow other people to speak on that.
I'm still a little confused. So December 1st, I take my first vaccination, my first shot. So I'm not fully vaccinated, so I don't get the money. So you're not in, whoever gets it now, if we're trying to give them an incentive to do it now, they're not going to have their second shot and be fully vaccinated. Because it's got to be 2 months, right? And so we're rewarding those that have already done it, feeling that that's what they needed to do. Am I understanding correctly? Am I making sense? The 20% that haven't been vaccinated won't get the money.
And they may choose not to. I don't know if $500 is going to make someone change their mind to get the shot. And I know that for me, this is something that we've just heard about. The board hadn't had a chance to have any discussion about it. And I'm with Courtney. Can the money be used to help support the teachers on a longer term basis by hiring people to be in place? Like, for example, hiring more counselors, hall monitors, bus monitors, social workers, security guards, cafeteria monitors. can we do that with that almost $1 million? That would really help our teachers throughout the rest of the school year, because what they're needing is the support. And with ESSER funds, we could use that to hire people. So I'm with Courtney. I agree. I know that $500 could be helpful to teachers because the holidays are coming up, but in the long term, will hiring more personnel be more helpful and supportive to teachers? I am really concerned about the emotional social welfare, the emotional welfare of our teachers, and maybe giving them more supports for the school year might be more helpful than giving that $500. And I don't think it's going to make our percentage go up that much.
Yeah, and so I think I'm kind of along the same mindset of Courtney and Donna, just with everything that's been happening in our schools and hearing the teachers, hearing our principals, and I'm of the same mindset. I think that maybe we could use that money to further support our teachers and our principals in our buildings.
I'm wondering if we could use that money for substitute teachers, giving them a bonus, giving people a bonus to come in and sub, paying administrators to sub, which is my biggie. But we need to get more subs in there, and that will help the teachers also, where they aren't overwhelmed with double classes and everything else.
That's a good one. I would love. That's a good one, Leslie. Give the substitute teachers more money. I know throwing money at these situations is not always the answer, but at least it'll show that we do appreciate the fact that, first of all, they're underpaid, but then also we want to support our teachers for the rest of the year and our principals.
And I was just going to say, I appreciate that. I think we're just 3 months too late with this. If we talked about this in July or August, certainly I think, again, I don't think any dollar amount is going to necessarily incentivize anyone who wants to get vaccinated at this point. There's been enough FDA's approved vaccines now, and there's been other hurdles that have been passed. I also don't necessarily think that we could throw all the money we want at staffing. I don't think the labor market's out there for people. People are drained. I get it. Administrators, everyone, no matter where you're at. I mean, you look at Schnucks is closing earlier than ever before in their 100-year history. I mean, the labor market's not there, but certainly I think there's better use of this money than incentivizing people who've already, now if the goal is just solely to give people, I won't call it a bonus because legally we can't give just a bonus. But if that's just the goal to boost morale, I think there's other things that we can try and incentivize of looking at opportunities for them even to collaborate and pay for that outside, to pay for additional staffing. Donna made some points of safety monitors. Again, I don't know if the labor market's necessarily there for folks, but how can we get creative in thinking through some of our ways of even our recent graduates? Is there a way we can get them to come to some of our elementary schools and start working as hall monitors even and things like that? Is there ways we can do some things? I don't know, but I just think we're just a couple months short, that we're gonna be spending a lot of money on things that we could spend elsewhere. And I know we have a lot of ESSER money, but I also just don't want to throw away our ESSER money on things that we could be spending on other things.
Right.
Is there any more discussion? Mrs. Janice, please call for the vote.
Mrs. Hogshead,
No.
Dr. Thurman,
No.
Dr. Martin,
No.
Ms. Bush,
No.
Dr. Graves,
No.
Dr. Powell Walker,
No. Just a second. Okay. Thank you for that. We will now move to agenda item number 6, student and staff safety. And this will be brought to us by Dr. Joseph Davis, our superintendent of schools, and this is for board information.
Thank you.
Can I say something before? I'm sorry, Madam President. May I ask? Can I say something just before he does this?
Sure.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is an agenda item that I asked to be put on the agenda at the last minute. And I do have some comments that I want to make after Dr. Davis makes his report. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So we have a couple of folks who will present with me, and then others are available for questions. So I prepare my comments to make sure I capture everything that I'm hearing from board members, that you're hearing from community, from teachers, and so forth. If you watch the news or social media over the past several weeks, you are aware that schools and the people in them, students, teachers, other staff, and administrators across the nation are struggling to adjust to returning to school after an extended period of virtual learning. We launched our safety and security plan that we call CUBES, C-U-B-E-S, in August of 2019. That plan included the following commitments to clear communication, clear understanding, clear book bags, clear expectations, and clear supports. As part of our commitment to clear supports, we began this year with the new Student Expectation Code, also known as the SEC. The SEC represents a major overhaul of our previous code of conduct and expectations. One of the main reasons for revising this code was the board's direction to take a more restorative approach to student services. For a year, a focus group, including a cross-section of stakeholders, put their minds and pencils to paper to overhaul the code. As we began school in August of 2021, with 95% or more of our students returning to in-person learning in our buildings, we allowed the SEC to guide our approach to addressing behavior and discipline concerns. That meant we were trying to resolve conflicts between and among students. Those conflicts often resulted in fights at school. We've used restorative approaches, including counseling, group discussions, reflection, and a host of other research-based restorative practices to restore harm. Adding to this equation were students who were coming back to school, meaning for the first time in a year and a half. Some freshmen have not been in school since 7th grade. There's a significant difference between middle school and high school. During these last 18 months, prior to August 2021, students have been working online, and most conflict has been through social media and other online platforms. Students have had the ability and option during these 18 months to just turn off their screens to avoid interactions and essentially walk away from that conflict. Now, back in school with those same peers and others, students have resorted to verbal and physical altercations as a way to handle that conflict. Adults are taking a restorative approach, as mentioned earlier, using tools like counseling, group discussions, and may have included short-term suspensions while addressing underlying causes of these behaviors. As we've progressed through the year, fights have become the first resort students are choosing to resolve conflict. This has become so frequent that it has created an unsafe environment for them, the students who are involved in that conflict, their peers, teachers, and all the adults in schools. On Wednesday, August 13, I sent out a message imploring students not to take matters into their own hands when there is conflict with another student. The video also was shown to our 3rd through 12th grade students in our schools on October 14th. And I urged students to tell someone or report conflict or safety concerns to psstworld.com and let us help them. Students who fight may receive a 10-day suspension and placed at the Restoration and Wellness Center, where we are better able to provide intensive supports to students who have fought. While this is a reactive approach, it does present students with ample tools to repair and restore harm that they may have caused, not just to the person or the people to which they've had the conflict, but also to the people around them and who care for them, including their families and the harm their actions may have caused to non-participants in that conflict. I met simultaneously yesterday evening after the parent-teacher conferences with Restoration and Wellness Principal Melendez and Dr. Stewart, the Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, who is a licensed therapist and a school psychologist, among many other qualifications and experience as a mental health professional. We work long hours trying to support our students, teachers, and families. Today, in just a moment, they will discuss 2 aspects of the plan that I mentioned earlier, CUBES. First, Dr. Stewart will talk about in just a moment the preventative and proactive supports we have in place or are putting in place to support our students and families before students enter into conflict. Our hope is that the supports he discusses will prevent conflict and give students and families resources to engage supports to handle and resolve conflict, so fights and other forms of altercations are not the result. Following Dr. Stewart in just a moment, Principal Melendez will discuss what his team does when a student has had a fight at school and has been placed at Restoration and Wellness because of their actions, and that's contributed to an unsafe environment at their home school. Before I hand it off to Dr. Stewart and Principal Melendez, I want to acknowledge our homeschool liaisons, we call them our HSLs, Dr. Michaela Thomas, who is an experienced school counselor, currently completing her requirements to become an LPC, and Mr. Stoney Withers, who is an experienced LPC, and their work in this process. Our HSLs have been assigned to schools throughout the district. Dr. Thomas does the schools that are south of 270, and Mr. Withers does the schools that are north of 270. Each week, the District Expectation Committee meets in my office. That meeting includes all the folks that I mentioned earlier who will speak today, and our partners at Special School District led by Dr. Shanice Terrell, who is our Special Education Director for the Ferguson-Florissant School District. Weekly, we conduct a case-by-case and school-by-school review, discussing referrals that include students who have fought and received a 10-day suspension by the school principal. We also have some principals who have been a part of that conversation, and assistant principals who are on the call as well, prepared to answer any questions board members might have. This review determines the next steps to provide the best outcome for our students and to restore safety in our schools. Let me end by saying there is no easy and simple answer. As I shared at the outset, across this district, this region, this state, and this country, and Dr. Martin mentioned it earlier, people are struggling all across this nation with the effects of COVID and what it's had on all of us. COVID has affected students who are dealing with trauma that may include the loss of family income, failing health of family members and friends, death of loved ones, and just the stress itself of trying to navigate life through this difficult time. I wish I could wave my hand and make it all go away, but there is hope. We will continue adding more resources and needed supports to take care of ourselves and each other so we become stronger through these tests and trials. Dr. Stewart, please come now and take a few minutes to provide the board with these things that we have in place or are putting in place to prevent conflict and support overall wellness. And then Principal Melendez, if you will, please discuss how you are supporting and your team are supporting our students who have had their placements changed to the Restoration and Wellness Center. So students are restored and able to repair and restore those that they've harmed. The rest of us, the cabinet, principals, assistant principals are here and ready to answer any questions, board members, that you might have and after these two gentlemen present. So at this time, Dr. Stewart.
Good afternoon to members of the board. Thank you, Dr. Davis, for this opportunity. Building social and emotional competence has been top of mind for our work. Let me begin by talking about our mental health partners that are funded through the Children's Services Fund of St. Louis County. We currently have 3 partners providing services in our district. Across those 3 partners, 208 kids are being served. Dr. Bland has led efforts to reconnect one of our former partners to specifically address substance abuse with our secondary students. At the November board meeting, I will be presenting an MOU to the board for consideration for an additional partner. Additionally, I've made contact with the Children's Services Fund and have developed a list of grantees who are funded to provide mental health services to children. I will be in touch to schedule meetings with each of them about a partnership. I hope to have an MOU. I hope to have more MOU requests coming to the board from my meetings. The next item is the school-based checklist. It's an instrument used to measure the extent to which school personnel are applying the core features of school-wide positive behavioral intervention and supports. Our immediate focus is to determine if Tier 1 universal systems are in place in all of our schools. We began that work with the school-based checklist in our pre-K2 schools, but beginning next week, we're going to pivot and go to secondary schools. After the social and emotional leadership teams have completed the school ratings on the checklist, we will be writing action plans to address the deficits, the deficiencies in each school. This will be a very expeditious process with quick feedback. Branching minds. Our schools are using our Branching Minds platform. Currently, schools are working to make sure that all students grades 5 through 12 are completing the self-pacing social and emotional screener. Also, teachers have access to a toolbox with intervention tips for academic and behavior intervention. For example, if a teacher is concerned about students not being actively engaged, explicit interventions are offered to the teacher through the toolkit. In the next couple of weeks, teachers will begin rating student social and emotional competence using Branching Minds DESA instrument. Teachers have traditionally done this with the SRSS instrument. However, as we work harder to practice through an equity lens, we are making the shift from the SRSS. It is key to mention that the DESA is grounded in resilience theory and directly aligned with the CASEL SEL framework. Our school climate survey. In the next few weeks, we'll be asking students, parents, and staff to complete climate surveys. The school climate suite that we're using is a set of 4 multi-dimensional surveys to measure student, teacher, administrative, faculty, and family perceptions of school climate. The school climate survey for elementary students obtain their perceptions in climate in one single scale. The same with middle and high is one single scale to measure their perception of school climate. The school climate survey for staff provides schools with an overall understanding of how staff perceive school climate within 6 subscales: staff connectedness, structure for learning, school safety, physical environment, peer and adult relationships, and parental involvement. And finally, the school climate survey for family obtains parent perceptions of school climate within 5 subscales: teaching and learning, school safety, interpersonal relationships, institutional environment, and parental involvement. We've continued to train staff on restorative practices. Our most recent training took a revisit to restorative circles, positive affirmations, and strategies to address dysregulation in students. This training was district-wide on October 8th. School counselors and school social workers have been trained to conduct functional behavioral assessments on students who have behavior challenges. This was part 1 of a 2-part training. The next will focus on writing behavior intervention plans from the functional behavioral assessment. This training is scheduled for November 2nd. 7 Mindsets is our social skills curriculum for secondary. We've taken a deep dive into discipline data at the secondary level. And based on these findings, we have a new scope and sequence for our Tier 1 SEL curriculum. We have paced lessons specific to behavioral concerns in our secondary schools. For Tier 2 interventions, counselors and social workers have been provided 3 critical resources to support students in need of Tier 2 behavior support. They have access to data and fidelity documents to implement check-in, check-out. They have behavior contracting resources, but more importantly, they have Advantage Press behavior packets. This material provides disciplined intervention to help students learn from past mistakes. These positive behavior interventions support social stories, support the components for developing a cooperative attitude, avoiding future mistakes, setting goals, and converting constructive suggestions into future actions. Our Tier 3 curriculum. We have provided secondary schools, specifically Restoration Wellness Center, with Thinking for a Change, which is an SEL curriculum. Thinking for a Change is an integrated cognitive behavioral change program that incorporates research from cognitive restructuring theory, social skills development, and the learning and use of problem solving for adolescents who have been found to present with antisocial behavior. We're continuing to revisit all of these tools and make sure that we are clearly meeting the unmet needs of our students. With that, I will pass it over to Mr. Melendez.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Good afternoon, board and Ferguson, Florissant community. Thank you, Dr. Davis, for the opportunity to share the innovative work that is happening at the Restoration and Wellness Center. This afternoon, I will be reviewing our program at the Restoration and Wellness Center and how we restore our students once they have been assigned. Once students are approved for entry into the program, an orientation meeting is scheduled to ensure a smooth transition. During that time, we review how the program is set up, as well as the onboarding process. Families are made aware of the curriculum we use, our goals, expectations, and are given my contact information on how to reach me if they have questions or concerns. Orientation occurs virtually every Wednesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. through Zoom. After orientation, students are assigned a wellness coach and social worker. A wellness coach is like an academic advisor or personal trainer that prioritizes the student's social, emotional development by leveraging the 8 dimensions of wellness. The strength of the relationship between the student and the wellness coach is critical to ensuring they meet their goals while in the program. During this meeting, the assigned wellness coach and social worker will make the initial contact to introduce themselves to the student and family. This introduction will take place either virtually or in person on a home visit. During this greeting, the social worker and wellness coach will establish a rapport, set expectations for the program, gauge interest, introduce the program goals of self-awareness and social responsibility, review post-secondary goals, and set a start date. On their first day in person, I meet with each student for the final step in the onboarding process. The intent of this meeting is to establish a relationship, build trust, review the student's plans for post-secondary success, revisit expectations for the program, and introduce the student to the space. Next slide, please. The goals we have for the program are based on 3 tiers that are not linear, but interdependent upon one another. We believe that we are successful in our approach when our students have become increasingly self-aware, socially responsible, and college, career, and life ready. This is the primary task of each wellness coach. Wellness coaches will ensure students are progressing through our program and becoming self-aware, socially responsible, and college, career, and life ready, promoting these outcomes through the 8 dimensions of wellness. Wellness coaches will utilize quantitative and qualitative data metrics to determine when students are ready to return to their home school site or have met their graduation requirements. Quantitative and qualitative metrics will consist of data collected from interactions, observations, SEL assessments, attendance, behavioral incidents, academic progress, gathering and wellness hour participation, and wellness goal attainment. One of the highlights of our program is how we have structured the day. Upon arrival, students get breakfast and then transition to the gathering hall for our morning meeting, which we have coined the gathering. This experience begins with music, a greeting, check-in with students, wellness coach, before shifting to the affirmation, our morning message, review of expectations, goals, celebrations, and the final check for understanding. Additionally, students participate in Wellness Hour, which is a dedicated hour to mindfulness practices that allow us to target any one of the 8 dimensions of wellness as we work toward collective attainment of our goals. Some of the activities students have participated in include walking outdoors around the campus, basketball, SEL lessons, restorative circles, individual career and academic plan work, breathing exercises, yoga, literary circles, and interest-driven activities. One example from today of this is where we had a young man who struggled with some anxiety, and one of his strengths is music. He brought his keyboard in and performed for everyone during Wellness Hour. Following him, one of our students whose aspirations is to pursue music and would like to sing came up and shared her vocals with the group. Finally, to ensure students are safe, those who have been reassigned due to fighting are placed on an A-B split schedule. A students attend in person on Mondays and Wednesdays, and B-Day students attend in person on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Fridays, we open for one-on-one support for both in-person and virtual students as needed. During in-person students' off days, they are expected to keep their learning asynchronously or can attend the virtual Zooms for live support. Final slide, please. Well, this is not the final slide. This here shows the affirmation that our students recite during the gathering. I lead them through it, and it's a call or response experience. And as you can see, when you have time, I can kind of go through it now so that folks can hear it. I start off as saying, I am because we are. I believe in the power of my thoughts to transform my actions. Breathing is my anchor. I acknowledge my shortcomings and celebrate my successes. I can achieve the impossible because I'm possible. I accept my emotions and allow them to serve their purpose. I am more than what others think or say about me. I have a responsibility to do right by those around me. I'm better than I used to be, better than I was yesterday, but not as good as I'll be tomorrow. I have a future for which I am accountable. I am the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. And on the right represents the 8 dimensions of wellness that have been designed by the Centers for Disease Control and other health organizations. and they outline 8 dimensions of wellness that help us to become whole human beings. And we reviewed those with students and families. Final slide, please. The reentry plan. We take a restorative approach to this. What happens is that the wellness coach organizes a meeting between the school, homeschool counselor, the student, their parent, the homeschool administrator, and a teacher voice at the table to discuss the plan to support the student as they transition back into the building. The student is expected to lead the meeting as much as possible. During the first week, the wellness coach from Restoration will check in with the students at the beginning and the end of the week to determine how things are going. Contact information will be made available to the students so they can reach out as needed if they find they are struggling. They will be shared with all stakeholders at the homeschool, including the student's parent and guardian. During the second week, the wellness coach will check in again, speak with the student about how things are going after the first week and what went well and where they can improve. The third week, the wellness coach checks in again and discusses what went well and where they can improve. The fourth week, the same thing happens. Following that into the second month, every other week, the wellness coach will check in, reviewing what went well and where the student can improve before the third month, which will result in a once-a-month check-in or as needed until the end of the semester. That concludes my review of the Restoration and Wellness Center. I hand it back to Dr. Davis at this time. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Principal Melendez, Dr. Stewart, Dr. Power Walker, Dr. Thurman. I know you asked for this piece. I wanted to us to put together just the whole work around the plan that we started back in 2019, CUBES, but specifically go around the supports that are in place and then be able to answer any questions that you might have at this point.
All right, Dr. Thurman, I think you had some things you wanted to say.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My part of the strategic plan is on decorum and student behavior. And I really wanted to discuss student and teacher safety. And that's the reason I wanted to put it on there, because I know right now we're at the tipping point. Madam President, I'm so aware that you met with Dr. Davis Sunday night on October 24th and also on the 25th with Dr. Davis and some other staff members. And with all due respect, Madam President, just so that we as the board can give you support and protection, I know that you issued a directive to the board, to Dr. Davis, that the board was not aware of, and that to this date we have not shared what went on in those meetings. While some of the suggestions are really good ideas, the entire board, according to, we should also be included in those conversations. And as we voted on the communication protocol, we need to follow what it was that we voted on. Since we were not given notice of those meetings, and we still to this date have not been given particulars on those 2 meetings, I would like to request that we know what went on in both those meetings and, what decisions were made, why they were made, who'd call the meeting, why was the meeting called, what was discussed, who was in the meeting, any minutes from those meetings. And the other thing that I just want all of us to think about is that no one board member, that's including the president, has the responsibility to give a directive to the superintendent without at least a consensus from the board. So, and that's just to protect everybody, including the president. And I just want to make sure that we're following policy and procedure. And again, I just want to know that if we can get those, we don't have to do that today, but I sure would like to know, those particulars about those meetings and who was a part of those meetings and why those meetings were called. I do also want to say that your presentation, Dr. Davis, thank you there's a lot of things that you guys are doing, and we are so grateful to know, what's going on. I think the next thing that we'll be looking for is how all of that is working.
Yeah.
What is showing, what programs are showing us that we are getting the results that we want from our students, and that we are protecting our students, protecting our teachers. I've looked at some of those videos that have gone out, and you know, I just want to give it to those people who are in there trying to pull those people apart. People are getting hurt. And this is really, I think this should have been our number one thing on our agenda to talk about, is the safety of our students and our teachers and our administrators. So I think that's pretty much it. And hopefully we can get some feedback on those meetings that you all had. Yes.
Yeah, so let me start then, Madam President, if you don't mind. So Madam President and I haven't had a chance to talk about what I'm going to say next. So I'm always going to be respectful, but I want to just respond to something that you were saying, Dr. Thurman. So Dr. Powell Walker and I, just like I do with every board president, talk all the time. So even when you were board president, or Dr. Graves or whomever else, Ms. Hogshead. So that's sort of how the protocol works. The president works with the superintendent on a daily basis, basically. And she and I talk all the time. And again, she and I haven't had this conversation, so I'm saying this without having had this, shared this with her. When we met Sunday, Dr. Powell Walker called me. We text back and forth. I may have called her. However, we connected because of concerns that you all have been hearing from the community around the news media, the fight that had happened. A parent was posting some things, et cetera. And then I was interviewed on Friday. So I know Kevin Hatton sent to you all. I always try to keep the board informed about things that happen. And I asked him to make sure that you all knew I was going to be interviewed. And so she called me, or I called her about those particulars and the concerns that she was hearing from you all. In our conversation, what I took away, and again, we haven't talked, when I read the directive word, I didn't walk away with feeling like I had been given a directive. So I'm just being quite honest. I didn't walk away feeling that way. When we had a conversation, what I heard was, it may be increasing presence, doing things to make the community know that we're not sitting around waiting for these things to happen. Like, we're out there in the schools, we're working hard. So what I said was, I pulled together my team, our team, the cabinet. So I did that Sunday. I called a meeting Sunday of just the cabinet. Dr. Powell Walker wasn't there. I called a meeting myself of the cabinet. We often meet, outside of school hours, but this was on a Sunday. And asked, instead of us having cabinet Monday, Kevin and I put together a schedule for folks to be in schools, and we're constantly in schools more now, especially because of these ration fights that we had, so that especially the secondary schools can see, because that's where most of the issues have been happening. They see us in buildings and see us in classrooms, and so there's plenty of evidence of that part. I also asked Dr. Powell Walker to come to a meeting that I had called at 4:00 on Monday, largely because of her expertise as a social worker. And so she came to the meeting. So it was a meeting that I was having that I invited her to come just because of her expertise. So I guess I'm saying I've been responding to parents. I met with parents just today. I had a parent meeting just before this meeting of one of those cases where there was a fight, and they called me, and certainly I'm gonna meet with parents and try to resolve those issues. But I just want to say that I read the directive word. I didn't walk away feeling that it was that. So I don't know if it was the choice of words, and actually, all the stuff that we did, had she and I met, or whomever the president was, I probably would have done those things anyway. But I'm always willing to give you all what we have, right? Because I don't ever want the board to be surprised or to feel like something's being done behind your back, period. So I just wanted to say that before I hand it back over to Dr. Powell Walker. But again, she and I haven't had a chance to talk about what I've just said.
Thanks, Dr. Davis. Are you also able to speak to the conversations that we had about calling a special or emergency meeting very early on?
Yeah, so, I think that many of what I remember, and if I'm off somewhere, help me, was the concerns were coming from board members, because you all get emails. Dr. Martin just mentioned a minute ago, folks send you all emails all the time. At some points, they will copy me on it, folks who are concerned. And when I get those, like Sunday night, in fact, I think after she and I had a conversation, I read an email, and the email had in there, it was a long email from a parent, and I definitely would ever disclose who the parent is. I personally called the parent and talk with mom. I do that all the time when I feel like it's gotten to a place where the issue still hasn't been resolved. I read all the emails. So, she had mentioned, calling an emergency meeting because the board members were concerned about safety of teachers and students in schools. And so with that, that's one of the reasons I met last night. Actually, we had parent and teacher, conference. And so I pulled together Mr. Melendez and Dr. Stewart, and we met at 7:00. I mean, just to be quite frankly honest with you, because we had teachers, and parent teacher conferences going on. But I knew that today you all wanted to meet to talk about these things. And so that's why I pulled them together shortly last night to put together the presentation we gave you today. Because, I think parents are feeling a lot of ways, but we've got to crack down on these fights in schools. And so when she told me about the board wanted to have an emergency meeting, I wanted to be prepared to share with you all what we're doing, because I think a lot of the pushback parents are getting is because we're taking action. We can't let kids come to school. I have parents, and I'm just going to be very transparent. I'm having parents tell kids to go to school and whoop somebody. Like, you can't do that. And we can't have schools that are unsafe and teachers feeling unsafe. And so if we don't crack down, then we're going to have more of a mess than what we see. And it's happening, I know, all across the country. But for our community, we've got to take quick action. I know families don't want their kids to move from the homeschool they're in. Then do what I asked them to do in that video. Don't go to school to fight. Don't go to school and make it unsafe for everybody. And we've got to crack down on this. And I stand on that part. But the meeting tonight that you all have called was a result of her conversations and mine. As I said, I meet with the president all the time, was to respond to a lot of those concerns that you all have been getting in emails. So I don't know if that.
I'm sorry, and I was just going to add that when I saw the only 2 items on the agenda, I texted with Dr. Davis to state that the board is not going to be willing to wait until November 10th to talk about school safety.
Yes.
So what are we going to do? And Dr. Davis requested a little bit more time to try to get the team together to have something to present to the board. Now, I do want to go back a little bit. So you mentioned the use of the word directive. I am not aware of a policy that we have that says specifically that I cannot use the word directive. There may be one. And so it's possibly, something that I'm not aware of. But I did reach out to the Missouri School Board Association today to just kind of describe the situation and the fact that, there was a board member who was concerned that I had acted inappropriately. What I was told was that my use of the word directive is perfectly fine. It was just a way for me to make it clear that this is what is expected to happen. Also, because of the timing. I said this to him over the weekend to basically say, we need to make sure parents see your presence, the increased presence in the schools over the next few weeks, so that they will know that you are involved in trying to get things under control. I also requested that there be some data collected so that when the board comes together to talk about student safety and teacher safety, that we would be able to have a robust discussion based on the things that they're seeing in the buildings. So that was my purpose for doing that. I don't have any prior knowledge that there's something out there that says that I could not do that. If there's a policy, that's something that probably needs to be brought to my attention. I also want to say, with all due respect, Dr. Thurman, I have not conducted myself as an individual that would attempt to usurp the authority of this board. I've been nothing but respectful since I have been in this role. And so I don't want it to appear to any of you or the community that that is something that I would do. I also want to make it clear, as I said to you when we spoke at another point, the things that are coming out seem to come out here and there. There isn't a specific time that people sit down and say, here's all the stuff you need to know as board president. You learn many of these things while you are on the job, and I accept that. And so I just am concerned that you're sort of putting out there that there is this desire on my part to sort of take over or speak for the board. I considered myself to be taking on the leadership responsibility of saying, whoa, board members are upset. The district seems to be having a difficult time. Let me get with Dr. Davis right away. And let me say, like, hey, at least if we can't do anything else, increase your presence in those schools, collect some data. Let's make sure that the board's Friday report includes the information that you're seeing. And we need to pull a meeting together ASAP. And Dr. Davis said, I know you're right. We need a little bit of time to try to pull some things together so we'll actually have something to present to the board. So my apologies to the board if I didn't handle it in the way that you would like for me to have handled it, but it wasn't about trying to disrespect anybody or usurp anybody's authority. And I am not aware of anything that says you cannot use the word directive, because truly that was more so just semantics. It was more so to send a message to the board that I wanted Dr. Davis and his team to understand that this is a very serious matter. It is not negotiable. The expectation is that you will be in schools tomorrow with, and that was kind of what that message was for. And it was meant to say to you guys, I heard you. So I'm not sure, you're the only person who's brought it up, but there may be others who also had the concern. But that was my rationale for using that language. So if the board would prefer that I not use that language in the future, I don't have a problem with that. Now, as far as minutes, we didn't have a formal meeting. It was more so me coming. He invited me to come to his meeting. So I was just there to kind of hear what they were talking about doing and had a chance to share, based on my experiences working in another district, some of the things that we put in place. One of the things that I expressed concern about was that we still do not have as many partnerships in place with provider agencies. As you just heard Dr. Stewart talk about, that he's in the process of trying to build our portfolio in that area. And there are some other things that I shared that were more just like, I'm just planting seeds, sharing a couple of things with you, and also just want to make sure the board is super concerned and we've got to do some things to get stuff under control. So as far as I knew, I was doing what board presidents do, which is meet with the superintendent and talk about what's happening in the district.
Thank you so much for sharing that. But I just want to go back, thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate that. And as I started off, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying, we want to support you and we want to make sure that you're protected, because when you put out that it is a directive, it's coming from the board. And that's all I'm saying, that we need to be careful. And it may just be a matter of semantics. It may be. And then the other thing that I'm asking for is that we have a follow-up when you have those meetings, so that we know what you're doing and we don't hear it from, outside.
I typically do. I think if we go back and look at my track record, I have typically been very good about sending out a follow-up to the board. But as Dr. Davis said earlier, all of this was moving really fast. And then you guys said you wanted this information tonight. So I was like, okay, I guess we'll just talk tonight. But again, I just need to make it clear, because you're making it sound like I don't do my job. If we go back and we look, I typically do send out emails to the board to provide updates on things. So I just need to make sure, as you're sharing, I'm going to stop you when I hear you saying something that I don't think is an accurate reflection of me.
Okay, and I appreciate that. But we have not gotten a follow-up on Sunday night or Monday's meeting. That's all I'm asking for.
There was no formal meeting either of those days. It was a conversation. There was a series of text messages, and then we spoke over the phone to talk about what next steps were going to look like, or what he was thinking about doing with his team.
Okay.
So I can send an email, Dr. Thurman, to kind of give you a blurb of something that happens. Dr. Davis might want to share something with the board about what happened in his meeting. Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay, before Dr. Davis says anything, Madam President, I want to just say to you, this is not a shot at you. I promise you, I've sat in the president's seat, so I do understand the responsibilities of the president. I am just asking that when we put out a directive, that at least the board knows that that's coming out. And again, it may have just been semantics.
It was you keep saying it may have been, but it was.
Okay, it was okay. I'm just asking.
I've shared with you kind of where it was coming from, and you keep making it sound like I did something wrong, but you can't do anything wrong if you don't know about it. You were speaking as if I had a piece of paper in front of me that says, do not use the word directive. And I said, I don't care what that piece of paper says, I'm going to use it. You know where my heart was And my intention was in sharing the message. And I need you to know that when I said I had given him a directive, I didn't say the board's giving you one. I said as board president, that's what I was asking him to do. So you're saying you would have rather that if I was going to give a directive that it come from the board, but I want to make sure that you know that as far as I'm concerned, that's your preference. That's not necessarily anything I knew to be aware of in terms of policy or parliamentary procedure. It's more so based on what you shared with me. That's how we run our
Right.
board.
Well,
And
no, you know what? I can read to you. I can
read
read to you what we voted on when we did our work session. And it says specifically, or we can wait and we can talk about this later. But we do have something, something in policy that we all voted on and said, we will keep this in place until we vote on it again. So yes, there is something.
So I am not aware of the word, I'm not aware of the word
directive. So
I'm not
I just
aware
want
of the word directive, so I may need some education on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please,
give me just a minute. Dr.
Please
Davis,
understand, I'm not attacking you. I am not.
Understand it, Dr. Davis,
Okay.
but my good character is on the line. So you have to understand that if you say something that's concerning, I'm going to respond.
Okay,
I
thank you.
appreciate that. Dr. Davis would like to speak, and then I believe Dr. Martin has something to share, then Dr. Graves, and it looks like Ms. Bush.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So, you know, I feel like that I may have contributed to some of this, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear. You know, the meeting on Monday was one I called. I have notes from every time Dr. Power Walker and I talk. So any president, I probably got old notebooks around somewhere, but I have notes from Sunday night, and I'll summarize them. I'll take that responsibility. And Monday, we had a whole group of folks in here who we meet all the time anyway. In fact, we were meeting in our district expectation committee meeting and continued on with that meeting and shared, because we invited some of the social workers over too, and we're going through some of the cases. So we have notes and I'll be happy to share all of that with the board, because you all work so good together. So to be honest, you know, I think the semantics piece kind of gets in the middle of this, and I want to make sure that I think everybody's intent is great, and you know, I'll make sure that all the notes get put out. You'll get exactly what you need, so that, you know, we're all on the same page. So I just wanted to make sure I say that. We have everything in writing.
Dr. Martin.
Thank you, Madam President. I think you said I'm next. If I'm not,
Yeah.
I figured out the hand raising. So good evening again. I just want to say that, you know, I appreciate each of the board members. We all have disagreements and different perspectives, but I do want to go, you know, sometimes we all have issues that we all have to work on and personal growth and opportunities, but we do also have a crisis on our hand. And the crisis is school safety and kids being able to learn in a conducive environment for the well-being of our community. And certainly, I think that is the issue at hand that the topic was raised. And there is no silver bullet of an issue. There's no silver lining to it. And I think it is going to take multiple, I think, as Madam President put in there, putting all of our power together, or knowledge, something, the genius, I think the genius was the word, genius together to really figure out how to work for the betterment of our students and our community. And I think I want to first say that I appreciate not only the board members and all, we have different perspectives, but also that of our administrators, support staff, custodians, bus drivers, teachers, who are working tirelessly each day to figure out what will work to make students be in an environment that is supportive and conducive to learning. And I also want to reiterate a point that Dr. Davis brought in the video, that it is a small percentage of students that often consumes a lot of our energy, that may broadcast the news and undermines the time and energy we're able to spend on the majority of the kids who are doing the right thing. And I think we as a board need to come together with hearing recommendations from the administration of what can we do to support our community, our schools, and kids, because every behavior is a cry for an action or something going on. People act for something because they want something to be received. There's a reason why there's a behavior, and figuring out the reasons behind the behavior will help us support kids. And so we really need to figure out as a board, from recommendations from the administration, of figuring out what to do with that minority group of kids who are not meeting current expectations, through the current avenues that we are offering. Because I do believe the traditional school model is not for every kid. And sometimes that they just need a different change. And so I think, unfortunately, we have to quickly figure out how to support. I agree with Dr. Paul Walker that there's a lot of wraparound services offered out there through children's funds and other things that we need to tap into. I know Dr. Davis recently met with a group of kids across the district to try and figure out, problem solve school safety. And I think figuring out what do they think is needed. Hearing from some of our kids who are having struggles with meeting expectations, I'm interested to know what they have to say. Is there something we need to design quickly or support, because it's draining, taxing, and mental health is a major concern of not only our kids, but everyone working in schools. And we already have a hard enough time with labor shortages going on in this country that when people read stories of what's going on in schools, it's not making them want to come work in schools. But I also want to remind us all that we all make an impact on a kid that you sometimes don't realize you're making an impact on, and we can't forget the why, no matter how hard the day is. And so I would love to hear, because I know the administration is doing everything they possibly can to be safe and be supportive. What is it that 5% of the kids need differently that we as a board could help institute, whether it's through policy changes, through reallocating finances, to support them to get an education while these schools are able to focus on the majority of the kids who are doing the right thing every day? And there's no one answer. I know that it's going to have to take multiple things, but I'm curious. I know we won't be able to answer all that today because I know we were hoping to be done by 6 o'clock, but my hope would be that you all can come with some quick policy changes or solutions to allow us to focus on the minority in a different way, to be able to ensure the majority of our kids are able to continue to be successful in our schools, or able to find a path to success for the kids who are struggling to adjust to the structures we currently offer in a more traditional school setting. And I don't think that the Wellness Center is the right avenue for all kids either. They're thinking outside of our box, and what do we need as a board that we can do through policies or through allocation of funds to help impact our schools, to support our teachers, support all of our staff who are struggling each and every day. I've had an opportunity to visit 4 schools now this year, and just to see all different grade levels from PK all the way through high school I've seen firsthand. And I work every day in a school in a different district, but certainly I understand the struggles. And so from a board perspective, to not get in the weeds level, I'm curious at some point, because you won't have the answer today, what do you need from us in policy work and finance structures to help support the minority so the majority can continue to learn successfully and the minority can find a new path to success in a new structure? That is all, Madam President.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Dr. Graves.
I actually forgot what I was going to say because of Dr. Martin, but I thank him for all his comments. Some of the things he said I did want to say, but one of the biggest things that still concerns me is that there is a lot of people who feel that they're not being heard. And I would like to be able, as I stated in my email on Sunday, just want to hear from the community. And I think what everybody is saying too is that it can't be just one person. All of us have to work together to be able to do this. And I say that along with teachers, staff, administrators, support staff, but it also takes our community. And because our children, our students are coming from our community, we also need to know what's going on in the community and have conversations centered around that, so we can support not only our students, but the communities that they have to go back to. That's my first statement. And then the second statement, and this is kind of in regards to the work, and I know that we probably don't have time to go through it, but just as in regards to what Kevin was talking about, in regards to just maybe some policy changes, the Restoration Center is not going to solve everything, and it's not for all students, and it's not for all the behaviors. And I think right now, the way we kind of have it set up is if you do this, you go here. And I'm really concerned, and I was concerned about this 2 years ago when we started this particular mode of behavior and how we were going to handle it. I'm still concerned about reentry, and do we really re-looking at should it be the whole semester? Should it be the whole year? And what does it really look like re-entering and getting back into our schools? And then the other one thing I didn't hear was the academic piece in that whole presentation about the Restoration Center in regards to if a student was taking AP classes, are they still able to take their AP classes there based off of whatever happened at school? So is it now they're going here that everything changes for them, or are they still able to get the learning that they were getting at their original school, but now it's just in a different setting?
Thank you, Dr. Graves. Ms. Bush?
All right. So thanks, I just want to say thank you to, all our board members who've commented and are taking this issue of, our staff safety, our student safety. Dr. Davis, I appreciate your comments. But I just I've heard from a lot of people. I've heard from teachers. I've heard from people. I've heard from McClure. I've heard from just the security. I've heard from a lot of people. And so the thing that's really disturbing me is the fact that our teachers are being injured in these fights with these students, which to me is unacceptable. Now I'm going to say something and it may not be favorable. I know that, I'm the parent on this. I know we've got other parents on this board, but I've got a son who goes to McClure. And so what I want to say is that my children have been in this district since 2006, since I moved over here. And so there are, things come up, they're kids, they get into things, yada, yada, yada. We all understand it as parents. But what I want to make sure everybody understands is that our students have a choice. You can choose to go to school and learn, or you can choose to go to school and not be there long. You can be there just to disrupt and cause a ruckus. And we have students who are doing that. Let's not try to sugarcoat and, oh no, we got a group of students who are there not to learn. They are there to disrupt, period, point blank. But I want to make sure that we are protecting our staff and we're protecting our students who are there to learn. So sure, we got restoration, great, that's great. But some of our students, you already know, you got it set in your mind that you come to school to whoop whoever. Okay, well, you know what? I don't have a lot of you choosing, and that's your choice. If that's what you want to do, cool. But we're going to have to put you over here. We're not going to allow you to stay in here and mess it up for everybody else. That's how I feel as a parent. I'm telling you what I would do with my own children. And then I also want to, and this may be a little, I didn't write anything down. I just have a lot of this stuff is just bubbling out of me. Just bear with me. It's unacceptable for students to be in our buildings, for teachers to let them know that they need to be in class, and for the teachers to be cussed out by the students. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. That is not acceptable. Parents, if you are on here, I hope some of our parents are on here who students might be doing this. That's unacceptable. There's no way they should be. I wouldn't even allow them to. No, you're going to curse me out. You're going to disrespect me. Okay, you need to be home with your parent. You go home with all that energy. Our students who are coming in and you slapping teachers upside the head and they got, injuring themselves. No. I want to make sure that everybody understands that when our students leave high school, when they leave school and they get out here in this world, what's the world going to do when they do that? Are we getting ready to take it easy on them? Is the world going to say, oh, let me bring, no, they're not. They're not going to take it easy on them. We're not doing them any service by taking it easy on. We need to show them, hey, look, if you make this decision, this is what it's going to lead to. You have a choice. You get to choose, period. And we're not going to tolerate your bullying. We're not going to tolerate that. We're not going to tolerate you ganging up on our students by them, one-on-one with, you got maybe 3-on-1. We're not going to, we need, right now, there's a lot going on, and I get the trauma. I get all of that. I understand that. Even in your trauma, you still got a choice, period. You still have a choice. I'm going to need everybody to make the right choices. If you do not make the right choices, you will be held accountable. That's life. Welcome. That's what it is. That's what it is for all of us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't mean to go too long. I just want to, what I don't like is that narrative that, oh, Ferguson, Florissant. No. Because my kids are in Ferguson, Florissant, and had them issues. So Ferguson, Florissant, we've got teachers here who are doing their job, showing up and care about our students. We got principals in the buildings doing what they should be doing, and they care about our students. They care. And so, Dr. Davis, what I will say is that the one ask I have is that I know that you meet with your principals. I know that you have a meeting. What I would like to know is that when your principals come in and they have an ask, are those asks being met? And if not, why? That's it. If they got things that they're saying they need in order to tell some of this, and we got our high schools, we got McClure is the biggest high school, I believe. It's the biggest and probably has the most students. So we know that what they need is not going to look like what MSB needs. It's going to be different. They got some other issues going on. McClure North, same deal. So I want to make sure that when our principals are saying, hey, we need X, Y, and Z, that okay, let's figure out how we can do that. Let's get to that need, because it's unacceptable for any of them to be injured in any fights, period. That's all I got to say. Sorry if my tone was a little hurt.
No.
That was not my intention. Y'all know I love y'all. I got love for everybody. I got love for my community, everybody. But we gotta do something. This just can't continue. It can't.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. And I do think that a lot of things that you said echo. I, of course, can't speak for the entire board, but many of the things that I feel too. I wanted to also just kind of make sure that it's clear. Again, the comment was made that it takes more than one person. And I just kind of want to make sure that people are clear that I don't think I'm that one person, and that I recognize that I serve as a part of a 7-member board. But I also would probably add that everybody on this board comes from a different discipline. And everybody has something that they can offer when the board is in trouble. And so when I ran for school board, one of the things that I put out there was the work I had done in schools for 20 years as a part of what I wanted to share with the community about, like, this is what I think I bring. So I think it's important to just note that if you see me, people know me now well enough to know that if it has to do with children and families and providers and services, I'm gonna probably be speaking up about that. So if the district wants me to share something about anything in those areas, I'm going to probably be there to provide support. In the same way that I think that Dr. Martin, one of the things I think he adds is he has a laser focus on the finances. I'm grateful that he's on here because that's not my wheelhouse. So when he gets worked up about what's happening financially, there are meetings that he's having behind the scenes and making inquiries about things. Those are things that are happening too. So I just kind of want to make it clear that everybody probably has some things that they bring that the rest of us don't know, which is what should be helping us to work together, more effectively, because maybe what one doesn't have, the other one does. Mrs. Hawkshead.
Yes, my computer went dead after Ms. Bush and I didn't get to speak. May I say something?
Sure.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
I have things. First, on next Thursday at MSBA, there's an all-day conference on school safety. And one of the speakers is the parent from Sandy Hook. I think she's also a teacher. And I've already signed up to go to that. Donna, if you're interested, you may want to ask Heike to see if she can still get you in. You have to go down Wednesday night because Thursday it starts like at 8 o'clock in the morning. So, but I am going to that on the 4th. I'm hoping to learn a lot from that. The second thing that I wanted to say was somebody made the comment about kids coming to school and fighting. I don't know a principal at McClure for many years in the 80s and the 90s. And he always said that kids came to school to bring their fights to school because they knew it would be stopped and that it was safer than having the fight on the street. So that unfortunately is one of the issues of why kids do bring fights to school.
Leslie, you're breaking up quite a bit.
Even just, okay, can you hear, is this any better?
That's
My
better now.
third
It's kind of in and out. Go ahead.
Okay, my third customer service, and parents don't want to deal with us, and teachers, students, if we put forth that the students more care, more interaction instead of always jumping on them. And the same way with parents, parents don't, they may have a complaint, but they don't want to come to school and have to deal with
Mrs. Hogshead, your connection is
whatever they feel is going to happen.
Mrs. Hogshead.
I'm done.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I do want to let you know that I feel like we got parts of that. And maybe at another time when we are in person, you might be able to share those sentiments again, because I don't think everybody got all of that. Or Dr. Martin, you have your hand up.
I just want to state two things. I know Dr. Graves emailed us, and I think I want to just bring it up here as well. One thing that I would think would be helpful is if, Madam President, the majority of the board would agree that we do something similar we did with the schools, where we set up some town hall meetings for community members, teachers, employees to come to meet with 3 board members, no more than 3 board members over the next 2 weeks, to give us, what are they seeing? What do they feel we need? What are options and solutions to this? Not just here are the list of concerns, but here are some solutions that we as a community, but listening directly from the board, and maybe someone from Dr. Davis's cabinet could be there to just take notes and listen, but really directed from the board. While I would couple that with Dr. Davis and his administration coming up with options, because I think we all know suspensions generally don't work, but we need options. There needs to be something. We need to figure out a solution that removes and sends a message that what school's about, but we know suspensions, generally they come back and the same behaviors reoccur. And so how do we provide the administration some time to come up with options, again, that relate to policy or fiscal changes that need to happen to institute programs or whatever needs to happen that they see could mirror those small group of kids, as Ms. Bush described, various situations that are causing a lot of issues that make it seem like it's more kids than it is, but those are serious issues that schools are facing. We want to make sure kids are safe and we're finding a program that's for them. But I think also hearing what Dr. Graves emailed about, not business-wise, but is there an opportunity where Heike could send out to the board members of, here are 3 or 4 town hall meetings that the board will have. First 3 board members to sign up will be there. We'll have someone designated from each of those meetings taking the notes of the 3 board members, would be responsible solely for taking the notes. And to know that these are not for speaking on behalf of the board, but truly as listening tours to hear what the community staff are saying are concerns and what are some solutions, and someone from Dr. Davis's cabinet to be there to listen, to also take notes. So we have 2 sets of notes going on to make sure we're not missing anything, in a rather quick timeline. It would be my suggestion, but of course, I'm only one of 7, as we know. And so I would just like to throw that out there of, those are the 2 things that I would ask that we have some more definite timelines on, of offering a listening tour, a board listening tour, and for Dr. Davis and his administration to figure out in a rapid but meaningful time frame some options that are needed to support kids to ensure that our schools are safe and conducive to learning, and we're able to educate all of our kids in our community while meeting the needs of them.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Anybody else have any other comments? Dr. Davis, I didn't know if you had something you wanted to say or.
Yeah, I'm just glad the discussion is being had. You know, this is a trying time for everybody, and folks are on high alert for lots of reasons. I do want to say, respond to something Ms. Bush said earlier, because I appreciate your passion behind the words. I don't know of a principal that has asked for anything that they haven't gotten that they needed. Yeah, I get asks all the time. I meet with principals, I'm in schools too, so I'm happy to talk about that more. I think what's really key here is that I think we all want the same thing. We want a safe place so all of our babies can learn and learn well, even the ones who are having the most challenges. And we need to make sure that they can. And it may not be in the home school, but we've got to call out these issues and we've got to handle them and not be afraid of it. Because I agree, and I know teachers are saying to me too, you know, no teacher should ask a student to pull their mask up and a student throws the F-bomb in their face. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I have no patience for that. And I've said it to parents too, and I'll keep saying it because I think it's the right thing to do. I think we all want the same thing because it's a safe school, and we're gonna have it. And if you stand, give me permission as you have and support, we're gonna do everything we can to support families. You're gonna hear from folks who are feeling the most resistance, especially right now. And all I would ask is tell the full story. Don't give half of it. Tell it all, and then let's be fair. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna tell you what I've done, but just all I say is tell the full story. And that often, and I don't know, we don't always get that benefit. I don't take it personal. It's just it's personal to me because my son is in there too. But all of our families want our children educated well. Period. And they deserve it. And they don't know. They're babies. They don't know. You don't know what you need. But we do. We're your parents, and I see it as my duty to make sure we do that. So we're gonna get to this, y'all. I mean, these are the kind of discussions that we have to have because everybody can always. We ain't always drinking coffee and eating scones. Sometimes you gotta get a little vinegar on your tongue so that you can, straighten your back up. But we've got to take control, and we can. This ain't nothing that we haven't been through before, and we got this. But mama and daddy, especially parents who are listening, this is recorded as well. Safety is job one. And I'm gonna do everything the board allows me to make sure we have a safe school. And so that teachers can teach every day and that kids are learning. And those who are having challenges, we're gonna support you, just maybe somewhere else. And we'll look at that too. But I think everybody wants the same thing. I do. I think we all want the same thing, a great school district where kids are learning at levels that we know they can.
And Dr. Davis, thank you for that. And I did want to just put out that as we keep thinking about trying to increase attendance at board meetings and even participation in the listening tours or the town hall, I know we send some things out via text. Is there any way to start sending that kind of stuff out via text so that more people can get the notification in the moment that the board meeting is starting, or that like the town hall at your child's school is starting in 10 minutes or 15 or whatever, so that that might just be a way to increase participation so that we can get as many voices to the table as possible. I don't know if there are other comments, but I do want to thank, Dr. Thurman, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more. I just want to say thank you, Madam President, for allowing this to go into the agenda at the last minute. We've had a robust discussion about our concerns about safety for our teachers and for our students. And I just think the board should have more discussions about this. So, and all of us just be kept in the loop. And that's all that I'm asking. And I hope that we can have some more discussion about this. And you're right, Dr. Davis, we are all passionate. I am a retired teacher, principal, counselor, and I have a great passion about teachers and what they need. So, and all of us do. And so I just want to make sure that that we're all on the same page, and that through all this, like Dr. Davis says, I think we're going to get through this. And I appreciate each and every one on the board and what we have to contribute to the board. from our different perspectives. So again, thank you for allowing this at the last minute to go on the agenda.
You are most welcome. And the plan was to have a meeting come together. We had talked about Friday, but at any rate, we're here today because again, I was trying to give a little bit more time for them to be ready to share some things with the board. I just want to thank everybody for being present tonight. And I know that there are, community members here who have heard us, as Dr. Thurman said, engage in some robust discussion. But I do want to say that I think that as a board, we are more committed to working together and doing what is best for children and making sure that kids get a good education than we are in remaining in conflict with each other. So please know that as a board, we're going to do what we need to do to move the work forward. We're not going to let any of our personal differences get in the way of that. So I thank each of my fellow board members for their commitment to the work. I thank you, Dr. Davis, and your team for the work that you did to be prepared for this evening. And if there are no other comments, Dr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am. So Philip and the HR and Dottie and all, they worked on the options 1, 2, and 3. We have enough room to do 2 days if you all wanted to do 2 days. And we can put an option in November and then another option in April, or I can put 1 day in April, 2 days in November. But we do have a room. We don't have room to do 3, but we have room to do 2 and still be in a safe place, even with inclement weather. Now, the downside would be if we had a lot of inclement weather, we have to build in 36 hours, which is roughly 6 days anyway. But we have room to do 2 days, I guess is what I should just say.
Okay. So did you want the board to discuss that further, or will you move forward with the options that you have and then give us an update Friday?
So if you all would, that I have you here, if you could just give me some direction on the options again, like option 1, we still have the November 1st piece. Option 2 is Thanksgiving, 23rd, 24th. I'm sorry, 22nd, 23rd. And then in April, if you wanted to do 1 day or 2 day, I think it's the November and the April. So did you want to do 2 days or 1 day? If you want to do 2, we can do 2 in April, or 2 in November. If you want to do 1, we can do 1 in November, 1 in April. How do you all want me to proceed?
I would just say if you want to throw a 4th option out there, 1 day before Thanksgiving, 1 day in April. If you're doing a survey, it doesn't matter anyways, you're getting their feedback. But I think we've pretty much spoken on the 3 options for sure that we want to get feedback on. But if personally, if you feel so inclined to do 1 day in November and 1 day in April and see what people say about that, whatever you present and get feedback on, I think we also want feedback from our teachers and support staff to see what their preference is.
Gotcha.
I don't know if others disagree.
You threw me when you said inclement weather.
Yeah, what I was saying, I probably shouldn't have said that, but we have to by policy build in 36 hours in our calendar whenever we're building the calendar and bring it to you for adoption. We have to have in 36 hours now. It used to be a number of days, but now the DESE uses hours. So that if we were to have snow days, or that we would have that built in as like makeup time. So we have 36 hours already built in our calendar. And so we're good there. That's not an issue. Because we can't just have, when it's snowing out, we don't have those 6 days already required, that we're going to choose to do virtual versus, choosing to be in person. So we have to have that time that's allotted already in our calendar. So we have that 6 days, that we have that room to do that. So we can, in that 6 day window, go virtual if it's snowing out, because we have those days built in, right? But we only have 6 of those days that's built in. We don't have more than that. And so if it snows and we're out for 2 weeks, then we got to make up some of those days. And so that's where the issue comes in. We haven't had that kind of snow since I've been here, and this is my 7th year.
So,
but we have virtual.
So my question.
You just can't go virtual. You have to have it because and Phil, you probably can help me a little bit better when it comes to, is you still want to help me when it comes specifically to the numbers of days. So we have to have 36 hours built into the calendar. So if we have a snow day, we can use one of those days, those 36 hours, it's about 6 hours, it's about 6 days that we're going to go to virtual. And we can use that time in that way. Is that correct, Philip? And then when it gets beyond that, then it becomes makeup.
Right. So we build in hours for the calendar because of what we would typically just say snow days, right? And what we did is we looked at hours that we could build in for potential additional non-student attendance days. When we build in 2 additional non-student attendance days, we still have enough days for us to be above the minimum that DESE requires for student attendance. And that doesn't mess at all. I mean, what we've done is we have a calendar that's also built to make sure that if we do have any kind of bad weather, we have time to make up for it. We are not allowed to just switch to virtual learning. You have to go through a process because virtual learning attendance is taken differently by DESE and is given a different percentage weight. So when we have kids attending, we have to say, oh, they're in school or they're virtual. And at this point, we haven't been given, which I hope they do at one point, provide some flexibility like has happened in other states so that on certain inclement weather days, schools can have the flexibility to actually do virtual learning. But right now, that's not the case in Missouri. I hope I wasn't confusing to anybody.
So my question is, if we don't use the snow days, is there that possibility?
I'm
Did y'all
sorry.
die? I said, if we don't use snow days, can we maybe have the possibility of using some of that in April, use one day in April to give them off in that long stretch?
If we were to add an additional day at this point, we would actually probably have to add some additional hours at the end of the year in order to make the minimum. Because right now, I mean, I don't know if we should be looking at the inclement weather as sort of a cushion for us in terms of, if we're talking about non-student attendance days. I think that could really become very complicated in terms of how we're trying to calculate the appropriate hours and get the appropriate ADA.
Dr. Davis, based on all of the discussion that's been had, can you say what the options are that will be extended to teachers? And I'm sorry if that puts you on the spot. We may have to kind of help you through that, but I keep hearing so many things. I just want to be clear.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. No, I got notes. First option is November 1 being a full makeup day, a whole day, and then we would do the evaluation training.
You said a full makeup day or
a full work day.
Okay.
For a full work day for teachers. So
All
teachers
right.
would be at school, a full work day, and then the evaluation piece that they would have done in the afternoon, we'd find a time for them to make up that at a later point. Since there's some video work, we can probably figure out that piece. So that's option 1. The teachers want to do November 1 as a full work day. Okay. Option 2 is Thanksgiving.
Work or wellness day, sorry, for clarity. Work or wellness day.
So November 1, I thought was a work day.
Option 1 was to keep wellness day as November 1st.
Okay,
That's
so
originally presented.
So wellness day for November 1st, and everybody's off. Option 2 is November, having the 2 days in November so that teachers would have employees would have, district will be closed, and we'd have the whole week of Thanksgiving as wellness days. Option 3 was, since we can do 2 days, then finding 2 days, and I guess at that point it would be April 28th and 29th of proposed days, and you can change that as 2 wellness days where the district closes versus the November one. And then option 4 is having one of those 2 days in November as a staff wellness day, and then the other one in April as a staff wellness day. So those are the four options. Option one is a wellness day for November 1. Option 2 is 2 wellness days Thanksgiving week. Option 3 is 2 wellness days in April. Option 4 is 1 in November, 1 in April.
Just want to add in, Madam President, option 2, don't forget again the caveat of shifting the afternoon evaluation piece and making it a full collaborative work day. Was what was discussed.
Okay, you have that, Dr. Davis?
Say that part again, Dr. Martin.
If you said that you would make November 1st a full collaborative work day and you move the evaluation piece to another day in that afternoon, so they would have the full day to work, you said, if they did the Thanksgiving week.
Okay.
And I would just say, for clarity's sake, Madam President, Dr. Davis, is just, if you said option 4, just be clear in the survey what those 2 dates would be, so staff would know what they are selecting from.
Right, and so and so I guess I would say then for November, it would be the 23rd, which is the Tuesday, and then in April, it would be the 29th, which is that Friday.
And Dr. Davis, can I ask, if you don't mind, when you send out the survey, can you send either the options to the board? Like, can you send the options to us so that we just have them in writing? And that way, when we come together on Friday, it might be easier for us to just have the visual looking at it and thinking through it.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Yeah, I'm right.
Would you repeat one more time the options?
Oh, she's asking, Leslie, I don't know if you need to hear them now. He can share them, but he's also going to send them to us in an email too. Would you like to hear them now?
No, but I would, please. So that
Okay.
we're all, keep asking questions.
All right, go ahead, Dr. Davis, when you, I know you're writing, but whenever you get ready.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear about the full workday piece in November, even with the Thanksgiving piece that's added there as well. So what I have in option 1 is a staff wellness day on November 1 is option 1, okay? For option 2 is the Thanksgiving, the 22nd, 23rd, but in that, they would also be able to have November 1st as a full work day. Is that what you were saying, Dr. Martin?
That's what you mentioned earlier, that you could make that a full collaborative work day and allow that evaluation piece to happen during a faculty meeting or some other point you get with Ms. Davenport and figure out where that piece would occur. But it'd be a full collaborative work day, or teacher directed work day, I should say.
That's what I thought I heard. So then, so it'll be the 22nd and the 23rd of November will be the 2 days in November. So that's option 2, with November 1st being a full work day versus doing the evaluation piece. They would be able to work in their classes. And then we could work through the evaluation component of it. I got a lot of arrows I've drawn up here. So let me start back over, Leslie, to make sure that we're clear. So November 1 would be a staff wellness day as option 1, okay? It would be irrelevant with the other part, but so November 1 is a staff wellness day, okay? The week of Thanksgiving, they would have the 23rd, 2nd and 23rd of November as the whole week where the district was closed, coupled with November 1 being a full work day, because they're already there anyway, but a full work day, and then we figure through the evaluation component. Option 3 is have 2 days in April, namely April 28th and 29th, as the district closed. And option 4 is taking those 2 days and breaking them apart and doing one on November 23rd, which would give Tuesday through Friday of Thanksgiving week. And then the second one will be April 29th, which gives a day in that long stretch between April and May. So those are the 4 options that I wrote down. Does that make sense, everybody? All right, Leslie?
It makes sense, but my 3 has November in it.
I didn't hear you.
Wait, say that again, Leslie?
Can you flip? Can you flip number 3 with number 4 and say November and off?
I'm not sure if I heard. Did anybody?
Leslie,
I'll tell you
I'm
what.
calling.
Yeah, let me call
Oh.
you. Let me call her.
Madam President, while she's calling, have we confirmed about a listening tour?
Okay.
Oh, never mind, sorry.
Number 3 and 4 and just flip. What I said was, so then you've got November and just flip them. And
Hey, Leslie, if you can mute your computer and I have you on my phone.
She's muted now.
am I muted? Am I muted? Oh, am I muted? Oh, am I muted? It says I'm muted. Okay. It says I'm muted. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm just leaving you guys. Okay. What I said was, can number 3 be November and April? Because you've got November, November, and then you'll have April and April. Are you following me?
So November, so you're saying switch number 3 and number 4. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure if I follow. So I have 2 days in November already, 22nd and 23rd. I have 2 days in April, 28 and 29. And then the last option, I have 1 day in November, which is the 23rd, and 1 day in April, which is the 29th. Now, of those, what do you suggest changing?
I suggest putting your November and April as your number 3 and your April and April as your last option. So you're going in
Okay, I got you.
calendar order.
I got you. Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that.
All right.
all right. And Dr. Martin, were you inquiring about where we are with the listening tours? Is that what you were asking about?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. I know I said it. I know Courtney sent an email, but I said it here. I just want to make sure, is that something we're going to do that Heike could do this week, send out? So by next week, we're ready to start rolling out these listening tours, or we're going to wait till the November board meeting? I just want to know what majority of the board or Madam President you wish to do with that. I just didn't want us to leave that hanging.
Sure. I think based on when you said it, it seemed like most people felt like it was a good idea. So Heike, if it pleases the board, and board, you can speak up if it does not, would you be willing to put something together that would allow us to start signing up for opportunities to participate in a listening tour? There might have to be some more discussion around what blocks of time that people might be available. I also had listening tour on my list and wondered about opportunities to hear from parents, teachers, and students. And I don't really know. And we're also going to have to take into consideration people's work days and that sort of thing. So I think it could require a little bit more coordination and planning, Dr. Martin, but I do think we need to get moving on that.
The only thing I would say, Dr. Power Walker, is, next week is sporadic because, the sort of fall break. So you have the 29th, and then you have potentially the first and all that's going to happen in a second. And then after that, we have the MSBA conference that's going on. So I just wanted to, put that piece out there too.
I do have a question with that. Is there a way legally we could have a workshop at MSBA to discuss solely the scheduling of a listening tour?
Mm-hmm.
No, not if we even posted it.
No, because I guess you can do it if you do it virtual. because you have to allow the public access to it. So since we're going to be in Kansas City, if you do it virtual, you can do it.
Could we sit in one room and have the discussion and post it on? I just think it's important, to your point, Madam President, to have the conversation of like timing, and it could be 15,000 emails that we go through to figure out to coordinate schedules. But if we could have the discussion and all of us are going to be there, we could look at calendars, look at what would be available to stream. That might be easier and more timely.
So you would also need to vote to suspend policy 4051 about holding a meeting outside the district.
Okay.
Would that matter if it's virtual though? Because if it's virtual, it shouldn't matter.
Well, if the board is together in Kansas City in person and they're holding a meeting there and it's being live streamed, so to say, the meeting is in Kansas City.
So I guess I would say, from my perspective, Madam President, if you want to work with Heike and Joe and figure out by Friday, we can always vote on Friday.
Yep.
Because we're meeting again Friday at 4:30, and maybe you can talk with other board members, or they can reach out with you individually.
Friday at
5 o'clock. I was 5 o'clock on Friday. We're meeting then, and see if we want to suspend the policy or whatever.
Leslie wants to say something too.
Kevin, you weren't at the entire meeting, and I'm a little confused now because I thought we were going to divide the district up and we were going to do our town hall meetings with the schools that we have chosen, as well as the communities. Like if I chose Berkeley as my community, then I would be going to their meetings. Courtney, can you say can you clarify?
I know what you're referencing. I was just saying, when I suggested, I guess, about dividing the district up, I think that's too many meetings to have, but certainly, Courtney, I don't know if you had a different thought either. I know that's what she just asked, was for you to speak, not me, but.
So I was saying this is more urgent right now, and we have to get this done now. I understand we were going to do that, but this right now, the issue of safety is today, last week, that it needs to get done now.
And I would say we should at least host one virtual session for parents who can't come to a school building, or don't feel comfortable coming to a school building.
All right. Are there any other comments to be made? All right, I want to thank everyone for your time this evening, for your contribution to this meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
All right, meeting adjourned. I'm sorry. Got to call for the vote. Mrs. Janice, please call for the vote.
Mrs. Hogshead? Dr. Thurman?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Bush?
Aye.
Dr. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Powell Walker?
Aye. Have a good evening.
You too.